friends, welcome back to the channel Relocate with Kaia. I am Kaia. I provide online support via coaching and consulting with individuals, families, and employees looking to move abroad. I provide them with relocation, country-specific resources, and on our channel, Rich and I share our own personal experience and journey of moving from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Johannesburg, South Africa with our wonderful daughter, Nina. So today, what are we talking about, Ricardo?
I think a one-word summary would be perspective. So we had the opportunity to be out and about this weekend. It was a beautiful weekend. It was great. And we had some interesting conversations with folks. And I think this issue has come up before of perspective.
Yes.
A lot of times folks figure out we're from the States. They go, oh, why did you come here? And that's sort of how this conversation that we had this weekend started. And it touched on things that actually are issues in both places. So,
yes.
Like crime and safety, infrastructure, and also, wealth disparity and things like that. So,
yes.
We had a good discussion about those three things. So we just kind of wanted to share our perspective of
yes.
here and also our perspective on the States as well.
Yeah.
So we were enlightened on both sides of this conversation this weekend.
Yeah. Now, so we were, like Rich said, like it really is not an exaggeration when we say that we meet people and once they find out that we're American, without pause, the question is, why are you here? And a lot of times people assume that we're here because of work or, we were sent here or, like we couldn't just voluntarily have come here of our own, because of something that we wanted for ourselves and our family. So this lovely person that we were speaking to, kind of the same script, where you're here because of work, this, that, and the third. And we're like, no, we just love your country so much. And she's like, really? Like she was just, very, very surprised. And then she kind of ran through the list of, of her own grievances as to why, she may not have such high regard for this country like we do.
Yeah, and, I guess to start off, like, infrastructure was one of the things that she talked about, and it is an issue, and specifically the load shedding here. There's been a recent report, I don't know who said it, I can't cite the source, but just saying they would lower the overall projections for South Africa for the coming year, the GDP, projections, and that's based on the issues around load shedding. It's like you can't facilitate the growth you'd otherwise be capable of because
right.
you're hamstrung by the power grid, by the lack of sustained dependable power.
Yeah.
And that is an issue, and a lot of folks can manage around that with solar
yes.
panels and inverters and things
yes.
like that.
Yes.
But this person was comparing like, in the States, and we had to enlighten her on, hey, look, it's not as rosy as you think it is over there. Texas is a private electrical grid. They have a lot of issues around weather. They do blackouts and are out for days at a time.
Yeah.
A lot of things are old in the U.S.
The
and then it's not always an issue right now, but it's not being addressed. Like you can see it coming.
Yes.
Like in Philadelphia, a couple 100 years old, pipes are 100 whatever years old, burst all the time, you run out of water. Like,
yes.
There needs to be more done now to
right.
fix the things. Yeah.
Right.
Don't even get me started on bridges from
right.
an infrastructure perspective. I mean, it's a mess, and they've had collapses and things. So
yeah.
The image of the U.S. of having everything buttoned up isn't what it is. So I think part of the disconnect was like, hey, it's perfect or close to it over
right.
there.
You guys don't have these issues.
Yeah, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, no, she, like Texas is definitely a really good example. But I believe in California, they also, in the States, they refer to this country's version of load shedding as rolling blackouts in America. Like that's what they call them. Yeah. And they absolutely have them. Is it, to the level of what it is here? No, but like Rich said, the unfortunate part with America is they don't address the situation until after the incident has happened or the situation has happened. And that's even if they address it. They might just put a Band-Aid on it and keep it moving.
Well, sorry to cut you off, but that is an actual great segue to the second topic that we wanted to bring up, was the crime and the safety aspect of, Joburg in particular, because that's where we are, versus, the States and Philadelphia, we can speak to. This person was lamenting that, hey, not much is done, like people get away with things, like crime happens and it's, unsolved.
Rampant.
And, there needs to be more done.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. I don't know the numbers. That hasn't been our experience.
Absolutely not.
And coming from a large city, you sort of know there's things that come with being in a large city.
Yes.
You have to conduct yourself and be aware of things. It's like, oh, I don't leave my door unlocked and just go to the store. Like there's things you do and the way you carry yourself and that it's city to city. So that wasn't that big of a difference for us.
Yeah.
Commenting about, what would prevent it or, punishment for it.
Yeah.
The statistics on the murder rates and the shootings in Philly in particular are bad. I think it was on CBS. One of the articles said, they're at about like a 60 to 80% clip of solving homicides for like white victims. Yeah. But for black and minority victims, they're like at cruising around a 25% rate. Mm-hmm. So cops are good at, hey, we'll write stuff down. It's not that they're not preventing any of this from happening. Like, the shooting go up, the murders go up. Like, it's not stopping it.
Right. And
so that was like a huge thing. It was like, oh, well, they're there to stop it. It's like, well, theoretically, but that's not how it is in practice.
Right. Yeah, I think, so when she was talking about, wanting more police, to me, coming from a country that over-polices, and knowing that doesn't have any real impact on the murder rate and the sexual assaults and all these things. Like, I know that having more cops is not the answer. So when she said that, I said, well, they don't prevent the crime. I said they show up after, and I heard stories about, when you call 911 here, they don't come right away, not 911, but when you call emergency services or the police, they don't come right away. And that's not, the case necessarily, because it also depends on where you're at in Philadelphia. Like if it's a bad neighborhood, you may wait longer than you would wait for a police officer in a good neighborhood. So, and I say all this to say is definitely, I know without a doubt that having more policing is not going to solve crimes. It's not going to prevent crimes. So we were just explaining to her, it's just like, well, we know from personal experience of a country that over-polices everything and everyone, that doesn't necessarily fix the problem.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and then you were talking about the whole private security versus,
Yeah. So like here in Johannesburg, obviously in South Africa, like a lot of those responsibilities of patrolling and all that is supplemented by the private security companies. Like they found a niche to like fill that gap in and make some money at the same time. So.
Yep. Yeah, and I think because we were talking about like where we lived at, and she had also mentioned like she prefers an area, if I could interpret what she was saying without trying to offend us, I think she was essentially saying she would prefer to live in a gated community or a community gated community. Yeah. And from our experience, living where we live at, we see so much security, private security. We feel safe, regardless. Again, we're coming from a city that with a very, very, very high crime rate, but we knew how to navigate that. It's like, oh, well, I'm just not going to go to this area, or I'm not going to, go, be out late at night. Like you're just smart. Like you just have to be smart about how you move and how you travel. So around here, it feels, and I'm just speaking for me, it feels very safe. In addition to feeling safe, there's so much security. Like, there's probably 4 different security companies that circle this one neighborhood. So I don't know. Rich and I was talking about, well, what would the difference be in a gated community? And I guess, obviously, you will be able to control the going and comings of people. But, there's so much, you don't feel like if something were to happen, somebody's going to take forever to come, or they're not going to be available or accessible. So, again, it's all about perspective.
Yeah, and that's not to say nothing can happen or things, because both of these worlds exist in each city at the same time.
That's right.
There's folks that are in areas where it's very unsafe and it's a daily struggle to get through life each city.
That's right.
And there's other folks who can go about their day and not see
not
any
experience
of
it. Touch it, see it.
Yeah. So don't deny. You can't go around and not act like it doesn't exist. It's not a concern,
That's
but
right.
it doesn't have to be that factor in your daily life.
Right.
It all depends on where you are and what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were just essentially what we were trying to say is the same thing happened there. Obviously it's different because there isn't all the guns and all the policing, but the problems are in America, and it's rampant, and it's and it's a lot of it. And I think the perception again is always that America got this thing figured out, or that they they kind of can control these things, all these terrible things that may happen here. The perception is America has all these police and they're active and they're preventing stuff. Right, exactly, and that absolutely is not the case.
Sorry to cut you off, but part of that is the image that's presented, which brings us to the third point of the wealth gap and poverty. And in Johannesburg, you're very keenly aware of the wealth gap, of folks that may be struggling. You could be driving wherever, and there's someone on the corner asking, panhandling. To use a very old term.
Yes.
But as they're walking past a Porsche or a Mercedes, or you see that all the time.
Right.
So you're very keenly aware of folks in different stations in life.
Yes.
Whereas in the States, and I'm talking about any neighborhood in South Africa, they don't remove folks.
Yeah.
Because certain areas in the States, it exists.
Yeah.
Folks are homeless and need help and all that, but they're just not allowed
in those spaces
to hang out in certain areas.
Right.
You're not going to stop here.
Right.
You're not going to be allowed
You're
here.
not
You're
going
going
to
to get shooed away.
Right.
You're going to be somewhere else. You're going to be out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
And that's the huge difference. Because you can walk around and this doesn't. And no one's I'm going to pick on L.A.
Yeah.
But Beverly Hills, no one's homeless here.
Right.
They are.
Right.
But they're not.
Right. They're not
on
allowed
Rodeo
to
Drive or
roam
whatever.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the whole Rich and I were, because we were having this conversation after we left the party, and we were just talking about what we're sharing with you guys. And what America does is they do a very good job of maintaining this image of safety, or this false sense of security that you are safe. So they don't allow loitering. I have watched so many videos of people that have moved abroad, and they'll say, "Oh, I went and sat on a bench and had coffee for hours." And in the States, it
depends on what you look like.
Right.
If you're in a suit or whatever, they might let you hang out
for a little longer.
Yeah.
But sitting around, lounging, enjoying a cup of coffee for hours, you can't do that without someone essentially questioning why you're doing that, or why you're this, why are you just hanging out for this long period of time. So I say that to say is that, so you can't, linger and hang around and, in public spaces for long periods of time. So to, just be able to roam free if you're, a homeless person, a person that, may look a little disheveled, they're not going to allow you to, you might get away with walking in the neighborhood, but you're definitely not setting up shop and, just, settling into wherever you settle in at. That's not allowed. make sure that they try to keep these groups of people in designated areas. And that is the difference. So when Rich and I first came to Johannesburg, I think that was the thing that surprised me the most, was just seeing people on the roads, wanting, asking for help, and, wanting, asking for help. Whereas though in the States, you don't see it. But, if you go to a particular area of the city, 9 times out of 10, you'll see it. But yeah, it's very intentional. It's not that it's not in America, because trust and believe, it is there. It's just that, it's policed. Like, the police are there to maintain an image of, an image of safety and security for people that, have means. But it's not like these people don't exist. You just don't see them. And that's intentional.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
So like overall, the conversation was really good. Like the sharing of perspectives and kind of opening each other's eyes up to like what each country or city is.
Yeah.
The person was actually like, you know what, this was really great. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to talk about this, because I feel so much better about hearing that. Like, I'm so prideful to be from South Africa and to hear your perspective and what you see in South Africa.
Yes, and this was literally based off of maybe a 15-minute conversation. I felt like she could have went longer, but we were wrapping up. But like she literally walked away saying that, and I'm just like, is she like? It was one that anything we said had an impact was just very surprising, but yeah, like she really said that, she felt better, and just such a small window of time that we had that sort of an impact on her. It was just very, like it's to Rich and, for Rich and I, it's kind of like, yeah, we'll tell anybody that will listen to us how the quality of our lives have improved. And we've only been here almost 6 months, but just how we exist and feel is so vastly different compared to how it is in the States. And we want to tell people that we come into contact with, please enjoy what you have, even with the issues that you have in South Africa. There is a layer that is removed that I don't think that's a big part of this whole conversation, that you don't have to experience. So yes, we do have all these things, the same problems, if not worse or exacerbated in the States. It's just hidden well, and the image and the information that comes out of America is definitely not the reality of America. So any opportunity I get to, I don't even know what to negate all of the, and I hate to use the word propaganda, but that's what it is, of America, I will shout it from the rooftops, because, people in other countries, you really, you guys have figured it out. We are still, people in America are just, during COVID, they kind of, had a glimpse of what it feels like not to, be in this grind and just, nonstop work culture. So it was a very, very great conversation, and we felt good that she felt good. And again, it always makes and when we talk about this, it's like it just reminds us. It's always a reminder. It's like, oh yeah, we definitely made the right decision. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, that's all I wanted to share today.
So. Yeah. Well, thanks again for watching. Again, we always hope that you get something out of our, long-winded conversations, and some entertainment. And we appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. And we will see you guys on Thursday. Have a great day. Bye.